Welcome to the 2025 Warren Town Meeting. It's now just after 5 p.m., so I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Thank you for coming. I'd like to begin by just reading the introduction to the warning for this meeting. The legal voters of the town of Warren are hereby notified that Vermont now has the same-day voter registration. Eligible residents will be able to register to vote on any day up to and including Election Day during the hours that polls are open. Legal voters of the town of Warren may request absentee ballots for Australian ballots at the town clerk's office until Monday, March 3rd, 2025, until 4 p.m. Any authorized person may apply for an absentee ballot on behalf of an absentee voter. The residents of the town of Warren who are legal voters in the town are hereby notified and warned to meet at the Warren Elementary School in the town of Warren on Tuesday, March 4th, 2025 at 5 p.m. in the afternoon to act upon the following matters. And we'll get back to these articles in a few minutes. My name is Josie Klein. I live up on Dimetro Road. I was asked by the Select Board to step in and moderate this meeting as the town moderator position was left vacant after last year's town meeting. I'd also like to introduce the members of the Select Board. From your right, we have Devin Klein-Corrigan, Luke Umel, Andrew Cunningham, Camilla Bain, and Kaylee Whitehouse. I'd also like to take the time to recognize two of our Select Board members in particular who have chosen not to run for re-election this year. The Chair, Luke Umel, who has served on the board since 2015, and the Vice Chair, Andrew Cunningham, who has served on the board since 2008. Is that right? Thank you both so much for your years of dedicated service to our town. We are all grateful for your contributions, and we all wish you the best in future endeavors. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
In addition, I'd like to recognize our previous town moderator, Doug Bergstein, for his service, including during the tumultuous COVID years. So thank you to Doug. I imagine he's not here tonight, but send it out into the universe. So I'd like to begin with a quick functional review of Robert's Rules of Order as they will apply to this meeting. We use Robert's Rules in hopes of ensuring that our town meetings are efficient and orderly and that they provide an opportunity for all Warren voters to be heard before allowing the majority to make a decision. We have several articles to consider today. They're all listed in the warning. For each article, we'll need a motion to consider it, and then a second, and then we'll begin the discussion. The discussion is your time to raise any questions or comments or to propose an amendment to the article. If you'd like to speak, please raise your voter card that I think you got from Dana when you walked in. We'll recognize you and we'll bring a microphone out to you. When speaking, stand if you are able, and please begin any comment or question by introducing yourself with your name and, if you'd like, with where you live in town. I will do my best to call on everyone who'd like to speak before circling back and giving anyone who has already spoken another chance to speak. And just a reminder that there's not necessarily a strict time limit on how long you can speak for, but please remember that we want everyone to have an opportunity to speak up and just voice their opinions and be respectful of everyone's time. If we do have amendments proposed, we will vote on those amendments before we vote on the article itself. A vote can be called at any time with the support of a 2/3 majority. That is to say that a 2/3 majority can vote to end the discussion and move on to a vote on the article. Or as is typically done, I'll just wait for the discussion to sort of naturally conclude, and then we'll call a vote. And that does not require a 2/3 majority. A quick aside, is there anyone here who is not a registered voter in the town of Warren? Welcome. Everyone's welcome here. I do want to just remind folks that if you are not, that we just want to keep it to Warren voters in terms of who's speaking and who's voting. So if you are not a registered voter in Warren, please do not vote. When it's time to vote on an article, I'll read the article out again, including any amendments that may have been approved. And we'll do a voice vote. I'll ask all those in favor to say aye and all those opposed to say no. If the outcome is not clear from a voice vote, we can move on to a hand vote. In the case of a hand vote, I'll ask everyone in favor to raise their voter cards, and then I'll ask all those opposed to do the same. If the outcome is still in question, we can move on to a paper ballot if 7 voters request it, although please keep in mind that will take a long time. But we will do it as efficiently as possible if it becomes necessary. One last thing before we move on to the annual report. The PTO has very generously will be very generously putting on a dinner for everyone over in the cafeteria after the meeting concludes. And I hope everyone will join for great food and conversation. So thank you so much to the PTO. So now let's go ahead and just familiarize ourselves with the annual report, take a look at some of these reports. I know there's going to be some presentations that might occur, and there will be some time for questions about those as well. One moment, please. I'd like to start by reading the dedication to the 2024 Town Report. The Town of Warren is proud to dedicate the 2024 Town Report to Margot Wade in recognition of her unwavering commitment to our community. Although not born in Warren, few have demonstrated as much love and dedication for the town and the Mad River Valley as Margot. She first came to the valley as a child, staying at her family's cabin and skiing at the local mountains. Later, she and her husband, Jeff, made that cabin their home, where they raised their 2 sons, Jackson and Ross. Margot's career with the Town of Warren began over 30 years ago, serving as an assistant to the Planning Commission and Board of Adjustment. Her deep knowledge of Warren's zoning regulations was invaluable, guiding board members and applicants through complex processes with skill and precision. She seamlessly managed meetings, minutes, and decisions with dedication and accuracy, always demonstrating an exceptional ability to organize and problem solve. After her tenure with the town, Margot brought her expertise to Sugarbush, where she played a key role in coordinating the ski area's development plans with Warren's ordinances. In this role, she worked closely with the zoning administrator, development review board, and fire department to ensure thoughtful and sustainable growth. Most recently, Margot was elected to the Warren Board of Civil Authority, where she once again has shown her dedication to public service. She has officiated weddings, mastered the use of new electronic election equipment, and diligently upheld election laws. On voting days, you'll find her at the polls, ensuring that the process runs smoothly for all. The Town of Warren extends its deepest gratitude to Margot Wade for her decades of service and dedication. Thank you, Margot. All right, so now let's take a look at the town reports. I want to start by just pointing out the list of town officers. You're going to see this is on page 5 through 8. You may notice several offices listed as vacant on this list. If you are a local citizen and you'd like to become involved more in the civic life of the town, like to contribute, please go ahead and reach out to the select board, or if it's a position on a board, go to one of those board meetings. You don't necessarily need like a really deep expertise to contribute. An interest and a drive to work on something is really appreciated. There are a few positions that I would like to point out because they typically are elected at the town meeting, but we don't have anyone running for them. The position of town moderator, we don't have anyone on the ballot this year. And the 2 select board positions that are being left by these 2 excellent people to my left and right. And there's several more in here that are listed as vacant. So just take a look through that. On a related note, if you if you are one of these officers listed and you do not intend to continue to have your position renewed, please reach out to the select board so they know not to reappoint you. We will get back to the warning in just a little while, which is on page 9. And now we're going to move on to the select board report. I think we have a couple of presentations related to this report. Who would like to begin?
Let's start with the garage task force.
Sure.
I was thinking, the report.
Do you want me to read? I can read the report if you'd like.
I don't think we need to. Let's move right into the.
We're going to get started with a presentation about the progress of the town garage project.
Hi, everyone. I'm Devin Klein-Corrigan. I'm going to be giving you a little bit of information about the town garage process that we've been working through. Kaylee is also a board member. She's going to be running the slideshow, but it's very simple, so don't expect too much there. So just a little bit of background. This site where the current garage sits was developed in 1969 as part of a 40.6 acre parcel, which includes Brooks Field and the Warren School land. There are a few reasons why we can't redevelop there. The current site is constrained by steep embankments on the north and east sides, as well as Freeman Brook and wetlands on the south and west side. The facility we need to develop in order to invest in adequate accommodation for equipment and materials in a single, efficient location means that the site, as it sits, does not have enough space. We've looked at the possibility of moving School Road to the east to gain space, but the logistics of moving that road and the over $1 million price tag just didn't make sense. We have nowhere for the highway operations to operate during the time of redevelopment, which will likely last for 9 to 12 months. Some of the current site issues originate from a visit by Project WorkSafe, who were invited to do a visit of the property to identify anything that could be a VOSHA violation. Project WorkSafe is a voluntary program to allow you to correct issues before VOSHA might come and take more serious action, like fines or closures. Here are a few quotes from the Project WorkSafe analysis. Quote, antiquated building that is a surplus army shelter. While the building was erected in this location in the 1960s, it is unknown how old the building actually is. All three buildings are in disrepair and show significant signs of water intrusion and mold. Fueling station needs upgrades. Significant water intrusion that has led to mold growth and structural damage, including warped lumber and matted insulation. Given the length of time the buildings have been leaking, there's likely to be significant amounts of mold between the interior and exterior walls and ceilings. The front garage, some of the structural crossbars used for the shear strength appear to be missing in at least one case. The cross members do not appear to be symmetrical on each side of the building structure, leading me to believe that at least one set may have been removed. If that is the case, it could lead to structural instability and potential collapse under high load conditions. So it seems obvious that we need to make some changes. The proposed new building would be at the town pit site on Von Braun Road. The proposed dimensions are 12,236 square feet. It's designed currently as a steel building with 20-foot high ceilings, allowing dump trucks to raise their beds while inside for maintenance and cleaning. It's a 6-bay garage, one of which is enclosed as a wash bay to reduce salt corrosion throughout the building and on the trucks, and one of which is smaller for a regular pickup truck. There's office space for the foreman, a utilitarian break room, locker rooms, and bathrooms for the crew. We've prioritized reasonable energy efficiency measures, electric heat sources with propane backup, and the ability to add solar down the road if viable. This will meet Vermont Commercial Energy Code requirements. For more information on the design parameters, please head to the road crew page on the town website, where you'll find more detailed documentation of the proposed building and the process. In an effort to control costs, we've chosen to reuse the existing road and to widen and pave it. Furthermore, we've chosen to seek employment of a construction manager in order to assist with cost-saving measures and project management as we move forward toward a bond vote. We're projecting that bond vote sometime in June, Please be aware that's just a projection. The sum is yet unknown, and we are hopeful that the work we do with the construction manager and Wyman Lamphere will lead to a reasonable sum for a much-needed building. The timeline to completion is projected, if all goes well, we begin construction either in the fall of 2025 or the spring of 2026, and we hope to have the new garage operable for 2027. There's been some question as to why we would choose Von Braun Road and the town pit location. There are a few reasons that we've moved in this direction. The town already owns the property, which provides two particular advantages. We don't need to add more funds for the development cost to purchase land, and there's no need to take anyone's land by eminent domain. It meets the condition of being along Route 100 and virtually equidistant from East Warren and Sugarbush. Similar activities are already taking place on the site. This site greatly decreases the activity in the already busy and densely populated village. It also moves it away from the school children and the traffic concerns around large trucks and parent vehicles coming and going on busy mornings with really terrible sight lines. There's less site work needed on Von Braun because there's already a road, open space, and gravel which can be used for the site development. Furthermore, the sight lines for plow trucks exiting and entering are much better on Von Braun than the school road. Lastly, the number of plow truck trips through the village area and the North Main Street and Route 100 intersection will decrease, as will deliveries. We have investigated other sites, both in the recent past and over the 3 decades that this conversation has been being had. Those sites include the Bobbin Mill, the current site of Salt and Sand Studios, a site off of Ellen Lane, the Ford Rogers property, and the snowmaking pond. For efficiency of snowplow routes, it does not make sense to have the garage on either the east or the west side of the valley floor. Thus, we have always focused on a location as close to the Route 100 corridor as possible and sought to avoid deliveries going up the access road and Brook Road specifically. So what will happen to the current site? We're not focusing on this right now, but there are a number of options, including, but not limited to, the sale of the property to a development partner of our choosing for housing, town-sponsored housing construction, parking, a park, a community center, and more. At this time, the Planning Commission is working hard on this question, and any interested parties are welcome to reach out to that board and participate in the conversation. It's the opinion of the Planning Commission that, quote, the site presents a unique opportunity for the town to control its own destiny, unquote. And for more than 20 years, as reflected in the town plan, the Planning Commission has been focusing on this site as ideal for housing. Soil testing was done in 2008, in which no hazards were found. That is, however, too long ago, and those tests will need to be redone. One of the options at this point we are considering is to include the decommissioning as part of the bond or to perform that work at a later date. If we take it out, we might save some costs on overhead with that particular scope of work. But on the other hand, we could include it in this bond and simply have it completed with a clean site ready for its next purpose. A few other important notes about our project and our process. We've heard from many of the neighbors on Von Braun, of the Von Braun site, and are seeking to honor their concerns to the best of our ability with respect to noise, dust, road access, and most importantly, safety for all of our residents. One of the town's largest assets is its highway equipment, valued at nearly $2 million as of this meeting. There are significant maintenance requirements for the current garage that if we postpone, will only add to the cost of the entire project. And we'd like to avoid wasting money on lighting upgrades, for example. We will be hosting 2 open houses at the current garage to showcase the dire need for a new facility. The road crew welcomes any resident or taxpayer at any time when the gates are open. However, we've identified 2 days, Thursday, March 13th, and Saturday, March 22nd, between 10 and 2:30, when one or more select board members will be on site and available to help answer any questions that you may have. Please note, we are very proud of our road crew. They work incredibly hard, are dedicated, considerate, and respectful of all of our residents, and we owe it to them to provide a safe, efficient, and effective workspace. We fear the morale of our staff will be seriously negatively affected if we keep asking them to work in the current conditions. Lastly, every year that we put this off, the price goes up. Thank you all, and if you have any questions, we're happy to spend a little bit of time talking about this, but please know that we will have more in-depth conversations at the select board level.
All right, I'd like to open the floor to any questions or comments. Anyone out there? Yes. Oh, would you, one moment, please. We're going to get you a microphone.
Yeah, I'm concerned about the way that Vermont, well, actually the United States is going at this time, and goods, steel, metal is going to be quite high in the next 3 or 4 years. It might taper off and be a lot lower later. And I wouldn't jump into this too fast. If you do, we're going to pay the price anyway. And I'd have some other questions, but it doesn't pertain to that. How much do you figure that it's going to cost to clean up the old garage site?
Thank you for that question. Would you just, I'm so sorry, would you mind just introducing yourself real quick?
Alan Hartshorn.
Thank you so much.
We have another one there.
Oh.
And what kind of conditions did you able to put the town garage in the town pit? I understand that there was agreement when that pit was started with a lady at the end of Von Brown Road. Did you straighten that out yet?
Thank you, Butch. As far as the cost is concerned, with the decommissioning of the old site, we have a current estimate of around $500,000 from the really preliminary cost estimation that's been done through our work with Ryman Landfair.
That isn't what I asked.
I thought your first question was the cost to decommission the old site.
Oh, okay.
Did I misunderstand?
You figured 500 grand?
Well, I didn't do the figuring, but that is the number that was given to us, yes.
Okay, now go to the next question then.
Okay. As far as the original agreement, the town has had this issue reviewed by the town attorney, who's determined that there's no legal restriction on the town moving forward with the project on this site.
Who's your lawyer? that
I'm so sorry to interject. Thank you so much. I think if we feel that question's been addressed, I'd like to move on to anyone else who'd like to ask.
Well, I don't think that the things are right here, because there was
So we are gonna
agreement
have-
there wasn't going to be anything built up there when that was put in there.
So we're going to have quite many opportunities for these type of questions to be asked, but this is the one time a year when we can all get together and talk about a lot of different things. So respectfully, I'd like to ask that we move on to someone else. Anyone else who'd like to?
Well, just my turn. My name is Chris Burfoot. I've lived here for 35 years, 36 years. Built 1 or 2 houses a year in that time. And I've looked at this project and I was blown away with what's going on. It fiscally is irresponsible. I can keep this short. It's fiscally irresponsible. It fiscally doesn't make sense, and it doesn't make common sense. And you'll hear more from me later when I lay it all out, but it's absolutely crazy.
Hear, hear. Thank you. Anyone else who has a question or comment?
I'm not used to this. And is that right distance? For it? Oh, wait, lovely, thank you. So I am the adjoiner, who was referenced in Butch's comment here. And I thought a lot of people have asked me about the deed restriction that's on the property. And I thought that what I could do, I won't take much of your time, and I know you just cut him off when he was trying to ask about this, but I will try to make it pretty succinct, that at the time the town gravel pit was proposed, which was in the 1980s, and it was a pretty heavy industrial use. The projection that had been made to the selectmen at that time was that it was about 250,000 cubic yards. And it was described as the mother lode of gravel of central Vermont, which, we know we need gravel. On the other hand, it was a very large scale proposal. So as part of that, there were concerns by adjoiners and people in the area, which included, dust, noise, but always from the beginning was the traffic. The original proposal was of a scale that it had a runaway truck lane. Now, where we are right now, so in that proposal, when the town wanted to pursue that, you look at these as, there's pretty onerous things to live with, but you can live with just about anything for a period of time. And in terms of the traffic on Route 100, and not so much on Von Braun Road, but particularly with the traffic going on to Route 100, it seemed that if one could do this for a set period of time, gravel pit ends, and then you have a resource that's going to be worthwhile to the town. And an agreement in good faith was reached with the selectmen for this 70, or I don't know, what's the size of the site? 76 acres, is that correct? 67, okay. For it to be essentially a town forest with other public uses. And a lot of towns, you may or may not be aware of, I think most Vermont towns have town forests. The idea was that it could be in forest management. It could also have, if you want to have like community garden plots, it was a suitable site for water, as a water source for the town. It was before the septic had gone in. And in fact, the town has since put in the water source for the hydrants. And you've got the pond up there. And I think recreation was the other. So the agreement was made at that time. The selectmen all signed it. There is, just showing how time passes, only one of the selectmen is still among us today. But it was, I think it was an agreement that seemed to lay out a pretty good future for this piece of land. Through the years since then, and that was in the mid-1980s, all other boards of selectmen, even ones who've had some reservations about it, have honored that agreement. I think in part because it's a good agreement, but I think also in part because they respect the decisions made by boards ahead of them. This particular, to the best of my knowledge, the direction that we're going now, this particular board has chosen not to honor that and has been rather forceful in saying that they would rather aggressively go after any attempt to enforce it. So I don't know, I've never felt that I was the only one who could enforce it, even though we were there at the time it was signed. I mean, the agreement is there. I think that where we are right now with the town garage, or the proposal for the town garage, it's a different project than the gravel pit was. And it will have, I think that there are, significant differences. I mean, it's not the quantity of material coming out over a relatively
I'm sorry
short
to
time.
interject. I'm not going to stop you, but just
Okay.
please keep in mind that we may have other folks who do want to speak. Thank you.
But I think that it boils down to exactly the same issues that it was then. I think the noise and the dust, both of which I think can probably be addressed. I think that's something that you can come up with mitigating things. The big issue is the traffic on Route 100. And in your proposals so far, you have not offered anything in terms of the numbers of, you say, well, it's going to be the same as it is right now. You haven't talked about the amount of material that's going to be going in and out of there, the frequency of trucks, what's going to happen. Of course, there's going to be a need to be storing more material there for upcoming floods and for flood reconstruction. So I am not impressed by the process that you've had so far in terms of providing any information. on, specifically dealing with traffic, even if it's, we all know V-Trans is central to it, but.
So I do see a couple of other hands that are coming up. Would you mind wrapping that up real
I'm
quick?
done. I'm done. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Sorry
so
I was too
much.
long. I tried to have it to 3 minutes, and I think I was like 10.
Thank you. I see another hand over in the back there.
I'm Chris Bain. I've been a resident for over 60 years now. I'm here to voice that I am in favor of this project. While there may be some issues still with the costs and so forth that hopefully are going to be addressed and whittled down, it is utterly irresponsible for us to not be thinking about the impacts of the current location of our town garage, the current condition of our town garage, the working conditions for the people that work there. And now we have a piece of property after a very exhaustive search throughout the Warren area that is ideal for this type of project. It will not impair the use of other things for that property. In other words, recreation around there can still occur. I find it very disingenuous for someone to say that it's unfair that they have to maybe put up with a little extra traffic that might happen in that area when it is a huge amount of impact in town where it currently is. So I just want to say that I think the broader picture here really needs to be looked at and understood. And we have a piece of property that is town property that we can use. The options remain eminent domain to take someone's property. How is that fair to anyone? So that's my opinion.
Thank you. I see a hand going up on the left over here. And just a reminder to everyone.
I'm Randy Tappan. I've lived here for 60 years, some years. And we only have to look at our current federal government to see what happens when you don't keep your word. The damn town made a deal about how they were going to use that piece of property. And then you guys figured, oh, it's okay, we'll just ignore that. Look what's happening on the federal level. The distrust, the hate, the division. Do we want this kind of crap in our town? I mean, really, you make a deal, you stick with it, seems to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? See a hand going up. Thank you.
Hi, Eric Bradstrom. I've been around for about 30 years or so, and you had two dates that we could actually give you a written report ourselves, and when we could visit this. I missed those dates and the places, if you could, and then maybe it gives people time to think more about it and give you something in writing.
Thanks, Eric. Those two dates were just for an open house for the existing town garage. You're welcome to communicate with us at any time, but those are March 13th. Just because they're too close. I'll turn mine off. Eric, March 13th and Saturday, March 22nd, from 10 to 2:30.
10 to 2:30. Thank you.
And that's at the old town garage.
Yep.
Please communicate with us at any time.
Hi, Nikki Thran from Prickly Mountain. I have not lived here for, it'll be 5 years. I just thank you very much. It's lovely to be here. I just want to say, I think there are points on both sides. But what I really would like to say is thank you to whoever protested last Saturday against the VP. I wish
Nikki,
I
I'm
could
very
have been
sorry
there.
to interject.
And
I would
but
like to just
last-
keep the discussion on
Okay.
topic at the moment. Thank
I
you.
just want to say I'm very proud of our town, and Josie, I'm proud of you. You're doing a great job.
Thank you, I appreciate that. We do have a, and I'm sorry, one moment. We do have a place for discussion further on in the meeting for other matters. Do we have any more hands up? Yeah, one guy. Yes?
My name's Chris Cathan, lived in the town of Warren for 58 years, fourth generation Warren resident. Worked for the town of Warren for 24 years now. The town garage where it currently is a public place. Anybody here can stop there as long as we're not actively working in the yard. I would be personally glad to show you around, show you the working conditions, show you the conditions of the buildings, tell you some of our concerns. As far as my concern, I don't know how many of you go through the village, the Brook Road during school intake and let out. The end of the school road is a very dangerous place, especially with a vehicle that's 35 feet long. That's one issue. Coming out of Von Brown Road, the sight lines for Von Brown Road are damn near a half a mile in each direction. Go out to the end of the school road at 8:30 in the morning and see how fast people come down the Brook Road. Very surprised that we haven't had an accident there. You know, the school bus goes by with 6 or 8 kids on it and then 45 cars behind it, and they're all late. So, done it for a long time. My uncle was road foreman for 30 years before this. Be glad to answer any questions that anybody wants to stop by the garage. You know, wade through the mud with us and come in and look at the garage. That the water runs through the roof and down the walls and mold. And, you know, the problem being that if we have a piece of equipment to work on, another piece of active equipment has to sit outside unless we can fix it in one day. You know, I understand the cost is a lot of money. I'm against it too. Anybody can build a 12,000 square foot building on the lot that we have, but the problem is it has to be functional. We have to be able to move around in that yard. Our vehicles are all, with the exception of the pickups, 30 to 35 feet long. And you know, when you put 5,000 yards of sand in that area and our personal vehicles, stop in and see. We get done at 2:30 if we're not, you know, working on the weather, obviously. Come see how our equipment stacks up in the building when we're all done during the day. It's a maze to walk through. So I welcome anybody and everybody to stop in. Be glad to show you around.
Thank you. Any other?
Hi, I'm Liz Raddock. I just wonder, can you remind us of what the other options are? And then can you explain how this is going to be sorted out with the differing opinions? Hi, Liz. Thanks for the question. I think what we've come to is a situation in which we have no other options. And that is what is precipitating what is seen as us going back on our word. We have tried so hard to find another place. We have looked everywhere we can think of. We have approached other landowners. We have done engineering studies to see if we can make it work on the current site. We have tried so hard and for so many years. None of us like to go back on an agreement that was already made. I will say, I'm understanding as a participant in government that our job is to do the greatest good with the least amount of harm. And that is what we're trying to do. I don't know how we'll resolve it in particular, but we are working very hard to hear the concerns of the neighbors and make every effort to make that building as low impact as possible, to shield neighbors from noise, to address traffic concerns, dust. VTrans is a challenging entity to work with. They move slowly, and we've had to separate some of the issues around traffic from the construction of a proposed garage because one may hold the other up too long. That said, the board is committed to making progress on improving safety at the north entrance to the village off of Route 100. And I hope I've answered your question. I know that it's not a perfect answer.
No, it's a great answer. You're doing great.
You guys, thank you all. Thank you.
But I have one more question, which is, if people that think that the select board who give bazillions of hours, if you feel like they're going against the word of the previous, or against whatever it is, previous select boards,
You're good. You're good. It's on.
what options would you consider being an option? We don't want our dear road crews sitting in a moldy place, and I know you don't either. So I just don't, I don't know. It's a horrible decision to have to make. Difficult decision. But we don't want anyone enrolled. That's bad. And we love our road crew.
Here, here.
Thank you. Any other comments? I think we have one person over here who'd like to be recognized. Thank you, Shannon.
Robin Blyer. Honor the original deal, please. If we go forward, there are so many uncertainties as far as the intersection, which is currently a very dangerous intersection. There's a septic system there at that intersection, so making changes, there could be many hidden costs. And I agree with the previous speaker that said right now, costs are going to go up, they might go back down, but a deal is a deal, and that's where I'm starting. I think there's a hidden cost there in credibility and trust, and I think that might outweigh some of the other considerations. I do very much appreciate what the road crew has done and all our town workers. It's not an easy situation, but I think we should, again, consider some of those very hard options. Thank you.
Thank you. Any,
I just want to finish up. I've been working on this with the select board 17 years, and this was one of the first projects that we had. And we started it, we had engineering done, or had picked an engineer, and then kind of ran into the headwinds of all the things that we're talking about tonight. And we backed off at that point, and we said, there's got to be something we can do, a place we can find that we won't have to go through this, to make this choice. And so we did look at all the different places. We went down the road with Barry Simpson about trying to buy a piece of the bobbin mill. That didn't end up working. They have other plans for that land. So we looked at a site called the Aldeboro Row parcel, which is down by Kingsbury Bridge. It was too small, too many wetlands. The current site, too small, wetlands on all sides, a big hill behind it, and really bad placement in the middle of the village. And we looked at a site down past Warren Falls, way out of town. It just didn't have, it was too expensive and it didn't have everything we needed. And then we looked at the site, which is the Rogers property. Nice big flat land right off Route 100, would have been great. They were not interested in selling it to us at that time, and maybe never would be. A couple other places we looked at. We know through our legal counselors, starting back in 2008 and concurring this last year, that the deeded issue is not an issue. It ran with the Act 250, which is now over, making it moot, which means there really is no legal opposition.
there really is only the select board in 1986 said this, and we're saying we don't think we can hold it. We have to do something. That's where we're at, Randy. Sorry.
Thank you. If everyone's all right with, I think we do have one more person who'd like to continue.
Hi, Michael McGurk. I am one of the new kids on the block. I've only been in town 10 years. I would like to thank the Select Board for the hard work that they have done. I think that there is right on both sides, and that the presentation of what is proposed for the future should have included, and the next time we talk about it, we should include the list of the other sites that were considered and so on, just as you gave, should be part of the visual aids in the presentation. The other thing is that I believe that the town and the select board will do their best to honor the former commitment. So it is worthwhile to present the steps that are being considered to mitigate the dust and noise and so on. Are there sound barriers that will be put up, such as we see along highways and things like that? That should all be part of the design and should be done to honor the commitment as opposed to the letter of the law. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We do have a long meeting ahead of us, and I would like to just remind everyone that there will be many other opportunities for...
I just want to apologize. I didn't mean to denigrate the select board. I was a selectman for 11 years. I know it's a terribly hard job. I appreciate everything you've done. We just, it's a problem.
Thank you for your comment. I'm going to go ahead and conclude this discussion. There will be many more opportunities. We do have a lot more to discuss today. Thank you, everyone, so much. Did I see Dara? Hi. Would you like to take a moment to come up and say, this is Dara Torrey, everyone, one of our representatives up in Montpelier. Dara, if it's all right with you, I'd like to just ask people to hold.
Is it me? Yeah.
I'd like to just ask folks to hold questions till the end. Is that all right with you?
That's great.
Excellent. That way we can just keep a orderly, efficient.
Okay,
take it away.
Wonderful to be in Warren. This is my 4th town meeting of the day, and this is a great crowd. Wow. I am here with some town meeting reports that I placed on the table over there that were prepared by Rep. White and I. She's not able to attend, but we did summarize some main work areas that we're concentrating on this session. And we do have a community event to announce. March 24th, it's Monday, at Harwood at 6 p.m. We're going to dive into education together. Big proposal on the table. Major changes for the future of education in Vermont. And I know we're pretty aligned on the fact that the status quo isn't working out so well. So that's going to be a great opportunity to talk, learn, share thoughts together, and that will be Rep. White and I, as well as our 3 senators. So hope to see you there. The information about that's also in our town meeting report, and we'll be publicizing it. So I just wanted to share a few highlights from the session so far. So yes, big concentration on the education proposal, looking at the governance idea, the funding formula, and then how to figure out the delivery of quality education to all our students. So that's going to require a lot of work looking through the numbers, like where the savings really are, the timeline proposed, what the transition would be like. So there's a lot there. The other big thing, of course, is the healthcare situation. I see there's a doctor in the house. And, you know, we're struggling now right here in our own community with the, you know, consolidation of primary care and the loss of our beloved clinic, when we all know that that's like the most cost-effective, best way to keep ourselves healthy. So there's a lot of high level, difficult to get your arms around issues around the costs that our hospitals are facing and charging, and the impacts that's having on our health insurance rates, which is hurting all our businesses and challenging our schools, and we're all feeling it. And then, of course, we have, you know, a commitment to make sure that people can access care in our state. But that, just like education, it's this rethinking of how do we deliver care a little differently, a little more affordably, given the cost, the realities of cost, the post-pandemic. So that's going to be a big area of work, and maybe we'll be able to also have some sort of forum on that topic too. And then I'm on the, both of your reps are on infrastructure committees. So Candace is on the Transportation Committee, and I'm on the Energy and Digital Infrastructure Committee. So we've been focusing a little more on the digital side of things. A big cost and investment going on with modernizing our agencies and how they do business. And so my committee will be working with the Agency of Digital Services, doing oversight and trying to make their progress and their costs more transparent and available for the public. So that's the only bill we've passed so far. And then we expect after break to be diving into this climate proposal from the governor, which has some controversial pieces, proposing some changes to our Global Warming Solutions Act and the renewable energy standards. So we're going to be diving into that. We're going to really take a lot of testimony, want to hear from all of you, and can report back on that. But I'd love to take questions. But first, could I just take a moment to share some gratitude? Very hardworking select board, big issues, many years of work here. One of the things that's really something I enjoy at the State House is that there is a lot of time to celebrate Vermont and Vermonters, and the Secretary of State reaches out to ask all of us who in your towns, in town government, could use some recognition. So there are two people I brought certificates of appreciation for. One is Luke for his 10 years of service. Thank you. And then I have Andy Cunningham, the 17 years he mentioned on that hard project. Okay, any questions?
Any questions or any comments or questions out there for Dara?
Wow. Okay. Please do take a meeting report, and there's contact.
I'm so sorry, Dara. We do have one over on the right.
Hey. Hello, my name is Macon Phillips. I moved here 5 years ago, but I have 3 kids in this school. And I think about our education system in terms of where it's going to be in a few years when my 7-year-old graduates, and it's not looking good. This is a question, but it's a comment to all of my neighbors too, because I know the property taxes every year go up. I read Front Porch Forum. I know it's not great. And I'm not talking about this year. I'm not talking about last year. I'm just saying, how the hell are we going to stop it next year? Because the other thing is, I spent 15 years in D.C. before I moved back to Vermont, and we aren't going to get much help from anywhere else. The special needs kids that are a huge part of our budget issues, that money's going away. okay? And there's a lot of people who have a lot of power in this community who don't have a direct connection to the school, who I know still care about our schools. And we've got to get on the same page here. So I'll bring it back to you in my question, because what I didn't hear, I mean, or maybe you could give me more on the governor's idea, because frankly, I'm looking for something. I'm looking for change. Even if it's not great, even if it is hard for teachers when it shouldn't be, even if it means that my kid has to share a nurse with another school, okay? Fine. I'm looking for something more than just who's going to get more emails on Front Porch Forum this year and more votes to hopefully get the budget done. Because I'll tell you what, one thing I do know is my kids have a constitutional right to an education in this state, and we're failing them. Because we're putting our school years under threat every year. I need this community to stand behind my kids, and when we think about the town garage, when we think about this issue, we've got to think about my 7-year-old and the kind of future we're building for them. And so what I'd like to hear from you is, what is that idea? Like, what is the thing I can hold on to that you think needs to happen in this state so that we're not having the same conversation next year?
Well, that's it. You know, the question is, should a statewide system of education fund schools in a predictable way? That's what the foundation formula would do. And take, you know, wouldn't be on the school board to do that anymore. It wouldn't be on local voters to vote for that school budget anymore. So we would be telling the schools, this is the amount of money that you get, and we're going to try to optimize the way services are delivered, to have some of the sharing that you mentioned, to see some benefits from having special ed, for example, focused on and deployed in schools in a different way that might save money. You know, those are all kind of the high-level goals, because we're a small state. So that's the question, you know, how do we kind of walk that balance between statewide control, so to speak, of the big picture and resources, and giving money to the schools that need money for new infrastructure, as all of our buildings are getting so old, helping to make some of that decision making at a statewide level, looking at where population is, versus, you know, the way we have it now, which is very, you know, we've inherited these schools, we've inherited these buildings, some of them don't have very many kids in them. So that's going to be, those are all challenging things to do, because we have a tradition here of strong local control.
Any other questions? I think we have one person out here. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ashley Woods. I am a lifelong Warren resident and went to this school, and I am the current board chair of the school board. And I was going to wait, but I want to thank Macon and Asher and other people in this community who have been working to help us with our current situation. I got to challenge some of what Dara seems to be leaning towards as solutions. I made some notes. I was going to wait and speak more like when there was more time, but this sounds just right. I, for one, do not like Phil's proposal. I respect him. I think he's done a great job, but this is beyond. This is, well, currently it's 5 proposed districts with around 50 or more towns per district. It does away with school boards. It does away with local control almost completely. I don't care how you look at that, but when you're talking about 5 districts with boards of 5 members who are paid, I'm not getting paid like these people. I'm doing loads of hours and loads of time. 14 people sit on the board. 14 people care. If their plan, was serious, it would have started with healthcare and construction. We haven't heard a word. I mean, it's on the side, it's a little bit. Healthcare and how we're going to fix our schools are our primary problems. And Phil wants to change governance. When our budget, school budget failed twice and passed on the third time, when we had to cut a whole program of world language to get it passed because of the money, the mandate was clear. Lower our taxes. Help us get education without these crazy increases to our taxes every year. At no point did anyone say, change governance. At no point did anyone say, we don't need school boards or local control. I, for one, was also so proud over the weekend about how our small community behaved. I agree with him. It is time to stand up for your schools and stand up for the cost is insanity. We all know that. We're battling that right now. But what's more important is what's getting peeled away, and we will not get back. So I plan to come up with a counter proposal, and I'm working on that with other school board chairs. I know that some of the conversations I've had with leadership, Ann Cummings, Ann Watson, Andrew Perchlik, they don't seem to really know what we're dealing with. Like, they're finding out things from me, like, I say to them in a meeting, one of the suggestions of our AOE Secretary, Zoe Saunders, is to get rid of the Board of Ed. The Board of Ed is the final decision-making on a lot of things. They want that power. And for me, I look at it as this very scary time from a federal level where all of a sudden the trickle down.
I'm so sorry to interject. I'm not going to cut you off, but just be
20 seconds.
Sure, thank you so much.
The trickle down is we have to fight in Vermont, or we will lose local control of our schools. It will get worse and worse until it's just closing doorways, big wide hallways, and not the opportunities that the kids we have deserve. So I'm just saying, I'm not in support, and I plan to keep saying that. So thank you for your work and all your work.
Tara?
Hi, I'm Tristan Whitehouse. I've lived
One
here.
moment, I'm sorry.
Could I just respond really quick to that? I don't want to give the impression that I'm completely sold on all of the proposal. And that I'm just using that as a starting place, and that's what we really want to do over the course of this year legislatively, is hear from people, and they are expecting this to get iterated upon. Like, nobody expects the governor to just, hurrah, you know, it's a done deal. But I do want to mention that this idea is an old one in Vermont. This has been out there for a long time. So, you know, we're going to vet it together and make it what we want it to be together.
Thank you.
And thank you, Ashley, for all your work, and everyone on the school board. Big round of applause.
Hi, my name is Tristan Whitehouse. I've lived here now for, how long have we lived here? 6 years? 5 years? And I'm actually an educator. I work over at Northfield Middle High School. I teach the woodworking program, the outdoor leadership program, and I teach their AP history classes. So I'm a pretty busy guy. And I've read through the governor's report or proposal, and frankly, as an educator, it's not that bad. Changes need to be made. We are running out of kids. Over at Northfield, our graduating classes have been getting smaller and smaller. I think this year we're going to have like 32 kids for the entire high school. It's a population problem, and we need to consolidate schools. And that's going to be a hard thing. I might lose my job, but it's what we got to do. It's what we got to do for our kids. I've got a 3-year-old here in the school district as well, right? Just putting our foot down and saying, no, we're not doing this because that's what Phil Scott wants and he's Republican, is not the answer. We have to compromise. We have to reach across the aisle and figure this stuff out, right? So I hope some compromises can be made.
I hope some common ground, some common sense can be inserted into all this instead of just simply putting our foot down and saying no to stuff because it's the hard thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah?
That's really great input and feedback. And I don't know if I have time for one more question or I see.
I'm hearing, I think we might have time for one.
Just one more, guys.
Just one more.
And I do really hope I'll see lots of you on March 24th because there's a lot more to talk about.
Robin Blyer here again. I just humbly suggest that you schedule more than one meeting, 324, maybe 4 or 5 at least. A lot of passion here, a lot of interest. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you so much. All right, I think with that, I do see some more hands up. If people, yeah, okay. We have a hand, yeah. Thank you.
Asher Berg. I've got 2 kids, a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old here. Born in Middlesex, grew up in Vermont. I just want to say that as we think about education and the investment in education, I think we're going to have to make some hard decisions around the costs of education and how we think about declining populations. And I think that if we don't invest in our schools, we're going to have real problems with our population in the long term. I'm here with my wife and with our kids because the schools here are good. I'm really proud of the school that we're in right now. I'm really proud of the schools in the Valley. And if we don't pay attention to this and we don't make sure that we have a system that funds our schools, and you know what? Education isn't cheap. It is something that we just have to pay for. Again, make some challenging decisions. Our population is going to really plummet because parents aren't going to be here with their kids. They're going to go elsewhere. And I want to be here, and I want my kids to want to be here, and I want them to raise their kids. And so I really hope that we think about the long term and we make sure that we continue to make investments in our schools, in our buildings, and balance that with some of the challenging decisions that we need to make.
Thank you. Joe, would you like to respond or should we move on to the next?
It's from everyone. Is there time for one more question on this? Okay.
Sure, yeah. I'd like to recognize this person. One more.
Last one.
Hi, I'm Lisa Miserandino, and I've lived here for about 30 years. I'd like to know, is the school population in Warren declining? I'll tell you why I'm asking, because when my son graduated, I won't tell you how long ago, there was 8 kids graduating from the Warren School. And now I have a grandson in the Warren School, and there's a lot more kids. So I'm just wondering, is the town of Warren different from the rest of the state right now?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a lot of the talk about consolidation has been more the upper levels, bigger high schools that can offer more. So we'll be going into this And we want to see strong community schools like Warren continue, and it's also a magnet for these other towns that don't have anything nearby. So, you know, we'll figure it out. But thank you all. Take care.
Thank you. So with that, I'd like to, I think we have a presentation on the ARPA spending.
Hi everyone, my name is Shannon Konvicka, and I was on the ARPA committee. And I'm going to go into a little bit of background of what ARPA was, what we did, and then who won the awards. All right. So in 2021, the United States Congress enacted the American Rescue Plan, ARPA, to address the public health and economic challenges resulting from COVID-19 pandemic. The legislation provided funding for initial investments in broadband, water, sewer infrastructure, and support for economically disadvantaged communities to enhance resilience against future crises. In the Vermont legislature and Governor Phil Scott allocated ARPA fundings to broadband, clean water, climate action, housing, economic development initiatives. The Warren Select Board aimed to effectively use these funds to deliver long-term community benefits through transformative projects and necessary upgrades. The Warren ARPA Committee was established, and the 2024 ARPA Guide and application was created to manage the funding process. This guide allowed the community to evaluate 14 submitted applications based on specific criteria and conduct interviews with selected nominees. The findings were presented to the Select Board, which employed a data-driven approach to identify the final reports and determine the funding amounts, ensuring alignment with federal and local goals. The eligible applicants were for-profit businesses, individuals, thank you, not-for-profit organizations, government entities or agencies, non-business entities, task force, or committee. So it was almost anyone. Eligible project types were for economic development, climate resiliency, historic preservation, conservation, cultural, educational, and arts initiatives, social services, public safety, recreation. And the eligible entities framework aimed to support the various projects contributing to the community recovery and resilience. The results. A total of 8 of 14 applicants were awarded funding and were distributed as following. The Warren Playground, playground development, $200,000. This funding facilitates the acquisition of an ADA-compliant play structure, the establishment of a grant writing position to be filled by Rachel Gregorian, who possesses significant grants writing experience. Gregorian has also been involved in redesigning Brookfield's ageless playscape, which aims to enhance social and physical connectivity with the community. Neck of the Woods, commercial kitchen establishment, $25,000. The grant enables organizations to obtain Head Start funding, which supports low-income families by providing tuition assistance, family counseling, special programs, and enhanced staff training. Before this investment, the nearest Head Start facility was in Barrie. Valley Players, accessibility and safety modifications, $25,000. The primary objective of this project was to enhance life safety accessibility with the Valley Players Theater building, thereby ensuring its continued use by the Warren residents and surrounding communities for cultural, educational, and artistic events. Notably, approximately 40% of the theater's patrons are Warren residents. The Warren Library, building improvement plans, $17,240. This funding supports architectural efforts to alleviate the facility standards by improving lighting, electrical systems, quiet workspaces, and ADA access to the children's area. Warren Public Safety, automated external defibrillators, AEDs, and CPR training at $14,388.21. Mad River Recreation District, Valleywide Trails and Recreation Enhancements, $10,000. Mad River Seniors Reusable Meals on Wheels Packaging Initiatives, $10,000. The Meals on Wheels program fosters social connections and helps supply nutritious home-delivered meals for seniors, regardless of income, who have trouble getting around preparing their own food. Warren residents account for around 22% of those served. Spring Hill School, upgrades to outdoor spaces at $4,000. The Spring Hill School has provided preschool programming to Valley residents for the past 40 years. The remaining balance of nearly $500,000 has been allocated to various town projects, including the design and engineering for a proposed town garage, as we know, installation of heat pumps for the library, and costs related to excavation and electrical installation for the new town pavilion scheduled this spring. I will say that it's important to note that some of these organizations operate outside of Warren's borders, and funding was awarded based on significant percentage of patrons from Warren. Additionally, Fayston and Waitsfield contributed to these same organizations. The ARPA Committee and Select Board expressed their admiration for the high caliber of applicants received and felt privileged to allocate funds to the community organizations that significantly contribute to social connectivity, engage marginalized groups, support the development of accessible infrastructure, ensure equitable resource access, and prepare for potential disruptions through effective disaster preparedness planning. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, Devin will actually be answering those.
Any questions or comments? Okay, I think that's a no. So with that, we can move on to just taking a look at the rest of the reports. So on page 11 in the annual report, you'll find the 2024 statement of taxes raised. By the way, I'm going to be stopping periodically if you do have a question about any of these reports. My pause in between letting you know where they are is the time to speak up. On page 12, we have the statistical charts of your tax dollars. Beginning on page 11, we have the Warren Delinquent Tax Report. Sorry, page 13, my apologies. Beginning on page 17, we have the Warren 2024 Annual Report Summary. Beginning on page 18, we have the Warren Town Budget. I would like to, just an aside, there's Article 1 is about the budget, and we're going to have a presentation, I think, a brief presentation just going through some of the details here later on, which will come with a time for comments and questions. Beginning on page 28, is the Warren Decentralized Wastewater System Report. On page 30 is the Warren Wastewater Budget for this year. On page 31 is the Town Clerk's Report. On page 32 is the Warren Public Library Commission Report. On page 34 is the Warren Historical Society report. On page 35 is the Warren Listers report. On page 36 is the Warren Volunteer Fire Department report. On page 37 is the Warren Arts Committee report. On page 38 is the Warren Cemetery report. On page 39 is the Warren Department of Public Safety report. On page 40 is the Warren Planning Commission annual report. On page 41 is the Warren Development Review Board and Zoning Admin report. On page 42, or beginning on page 42, is the Warren Conservation Commission report. On page 44, beginning on page 44, is the warning and minutes from the 2024 town meeting. On page 46 is the Warren Energy Committee report. On page 47 is the Department of Public Works report. On page 48 is the Warren School PTO report. Beginning on page 50 is the Washington County Sheriff's Department report. Beginning on page 54 is the Mad River Resource Management Alliance report. On page 56 is a report from the Mad River Valley Planning District. On page 57 is a report from Mad River Valley Ambulance. On page 58 is a report from Friends of the Mad River. On page 59 is a report from the Mad River Valley Recreation District. On page 61 is a report from MRV TV. On page 62 is a report from WMRW. On page, I'm sorry, that's on page 62, my apologies. On page 63 is the Roots Work annual report. On page 64 is a report from the Mad River Valley Senior Citizens. Okay, sure. On page 65 is the Mad River Valley Health Center report. I think we'd like to, if no one has any questions on any of the reports later in this, in the report, I'd like to go ahead and move on. And with that, we're going to return to our warning, which is on page 9. So now we're going to get to the meat of the meeting, which is the articles we're all going to consider. I'm going to begin by reading Article 1, and then I'm going to ask for someone to move to consider it, and then I'll ask for a second, and then we can begin discussion. Article 1 reads as follows. Shall the town vote a budget of $4,829,059 to meet the expenses and liabilities of the town, including the capital expenditures, and to authorize the select board to set a tax rate sufficient to provide the same? Can I hear a motion? Second? Thank you. I think we may have a report to begin this discussion.
We do.
Oh, yes.
That's okay. Thank you. So we want to do quickly, we can go through and answer any question that you have on the budget, but we'd like to go through first and highlight some things that we anticipate will be questions. So to start off, what we just moved was budget in the amount of $4,820,059. And that's up 8% if you look at the budget, if you can compare it to last year. Last year, after we moved that budget, we increased we had an article for paving that increased the amount $450,000. We also added $30,000 to fund the Conservation Committee's capital fund. That total amount is $4,897,000. So in actuality, considering those numbers, this budget for 2025 proposed is down 1.6%. When we, throughout our budget planning in the fall, we worked hard and we asked our department heads to work hard to keep costs down. Our largest cost always is our salary and wages. Retention and the benefits for our employees are one thing that we value our employees very much. So this year we decided on a 4.5% increase. That will obviously increase, that's the biggest source of our budget, really, that and the benefits that are associated with it. So aside from that, just going through the budget, flagging things that are up and may look odd. On the first page, 18, under Administrative and Select Board, we have the hazard mitigation grant. Mill Pond panel is actually for a panel. This allows us to close out a grant, and this will be funded. This shows up as an expense of $34,000, which is an increase, but is actually funded, offset by a grant. Right? Thank you. Jumping ahead to page 20, the Mad River Valley Planning District is up $15,000, which is 21%. And Andy, do you want to speak to that quickly?
Sure. That is due almost entirely to some omissions from last year's budget. When the planning district figured out last year's budget for the, I believe it was salaries and benefits, they left out several lines by mistake. So we voted in a much lower amount. They had excess funds from prior years. They were able to, from not hiring people in prior years. So they were able to pay that difference. But this year, we're getting the full cost that we should have seen last year.
Thank you. Jumping ahead to page 22, our total gross office costs are up 27%. We went from a budget of $50,000 to $68,000, and that is in part due to costs that we didn't anticipate. These are mostly for changes in network and computer support. We have spent the last number of years moving towards a number of methods to make our network and data more resilient. All the land records, or close to all the land records, are online now. So we're not relying on, in the event of a disaster, we're not relying on physical documents and media. So going forward, do we expect that number to go down, or that we've reached a final number? Okay, so we do have more work to do in terms of getting rid of some local hardware that exists in the office, but that's why that number jumped up. Next on the list, in the highway budget on page 24, under contractual services, we have a budget of $150,000, and that is for contracted bridge and culvert work. Well, I'll answer this one quickly. Basically, that's beyond our scope and beyond what we're able to do in the summer building schedule. So we've contracted that out so that we can get certain projects done. On page 25, the Warren Rec Committee is a new line item for $10,000. We have formally established a local rec committee to manage Brooksfield and work with the wider Valley Rec Committee, basically to represent our interest there and to help us manage recreational facilities in the town. Also on page 25, under building maintenance, facilities contractual, we have, with aging buildings and just the needs of buildings and the town, we are finding that we're constantly in need of repairs and small maintenance things. So it's not, painting a building. This is small repairs. So we have upped our budget there in the hopes of tackling some of these smaller projects. And it's basically not enough. We don't have enough work to necessitate a full-time position, but this will allow us to meet those needs, set aside some money to tackle some smaller projects. On page 26, the Warren Arts Committee line item is up. We have agreed to help them get their budget stable and pay for programs that we're basically helping them get up to date, get current on their billing. That's all I have in my notes. Is there anything else from the table? Otherwise, I'll hand it back to Josie and we can take any questions on the budget as a whole or specific line items.
Before we get started on this discussion, I do just want to give everyone a quick reminder. Please don't speak until you're recognized. That just helps keep things orderly. When you are given the floor, if you could just limit it to one question or comment. You can string a couple together if you'd like, but we do want to just keep things moving so everyone gets a chance to speak. And I think with that, we can begin a discussion. Anyone out there with any questions or comments? Yes, sir. We're going to get a microphone over to you.
Doug Stair. The benefits that the town pays employees appear to me to be increasing dramatically. Looks like about 24% year to year. I might be a little off in that percentage. Going from 41% of total wages to 50% of wages. That is a death spiral for trying to keep your costs in line. I'd like to know what the board has looked at in terms of trying to reduce that dramatic increase in the future.
I don't know that we can promise to reduce it in the future. I think we're at the mercy of the healthcare system.
Oh, sorry, if you don't mind, just waiting to be recognized before you speak. Yes?
I was just going to comment.
And if you please, I'm so sorry to interrupt, just please introduce yourself before speaking.
I'm Sarah Spencer. I was just going to comment that, yeah, that's the price of health increase if you're paying your private citizen health insurance. So I think they're trying to keep in line with that, and I applaud that.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions out there? Okay, I think that's a no. So with that, we're going to move on to a vote on this article. I'm going to begin by reading the article again, hopefully correctly. One moment, please. If I could find it in my book. There we go. Article 1, shall the town vote a budget of $4,820,059 to meet the expenses and liabilities of the town, including the capital expenditures, and to authorize the select board to set a tax rate sufficient to provide the same? So, all those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, say no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The motion is carried. So now we're going to move on to Article 2. Article 2, shall the town vote to allocate $30,000 to the Conservation Reserve Fund for the year 2025 to be used for land conservation projects as stated in the Town of Warren Conservation Committee and Reserve Fund Charter dated 24 April 2007. Can I hear a motion? Second? Thank you. Any discussion on this motion? Okay, I think that, do we have one? Okay. Yes.
Valerie Bigelow. My question is more just curiosity. How much land do we currently have conserved, and how much more land are we looking to conserve?
One moment, Hito, we're going to get you a microphone.
Sorry, Hito Coleman from the Conservation Commission. On the first question of the total land that has been conserved, it's a little complicated because the way the process works is the town helps facilitate transfers of land that in most cases, 90% of the cases, goes to either the Forest Service or the state eventually. So the transaction we involved in is we may pay for the appraisal or the biological assessment, but eventually it's taken over by the state. And our funding is typically, our part of the funding, the town of Warren's funding is usually in the neighborhood of 10 or 15% of the total value of the property that's eventually turned over to some other entity. The town doesn't retain very much ownership. In the last 3 years, the town actually has retained ownership of 2 parcels, which for a total of 17 acres. Both those parcels were on what's called the Brook Road Corridor, Wildlife Corridor area. And those were completed in the last 2 years using funds from the Conservation Fund. So this $30,000 that's being requested goes into the Conservation Fund, which I think has a total, it wasn't in the proceedings, but it's in the neighbor of $200,000. And then when a piece of land comes up that is appropriate, or we believe is appropriate, we do an assessment of that land. We then make a recommendation to the select board, and they decide whether that money would be allocated for that purpose. In the works right now is a chunk of land that's at the top of Roxbury Gap, actually on the backside, goes from the top of the Roxbury Gaps down to the Roxbury line. It's about 50 acres. That is been proposed to be transferred to the state forest. The state will take ownership of that, and the town has agreed to put in roughly $50,000 in that acquisition process. So that's the pending transaction that's coming up, and there's currently no other pending actions. So I hope I answered your question in sort of a roundabout way.
Thank you, Hito. Any other comments or questions on Article 2? Okay, I think that's a no, so we're going to move on to a vote. I'm going to read the article again for you. Article 2, shall the town vote to allocate $30,000 to the Conservation Reserve Fund for the year 2025 to be used for land conservation projects as stated in the Town of Warren Conservation Commission and Reserve Fund Charter dated 24 April 2007. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and the motion is carried. All right, now we're going to move on to Article 3. Article 3, shall the town of Warren vote to raise, appropriate, and expend the sum of $2,000 for the support of Mad River Valley Arts to provide services to residents of the town? Can I hear a motion? Seconds? Thank you. Any comments or questions on Article 3? Okay, I think that's a no. So with that, we're going to move on to a vote on Article 3. Shall the town of Warren vote to raise, appropriate, and expend the sum of $2,000 for the support of Mad River Valley Arts to provide services to residents of the town? All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, please say no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and the motion is carried. Now we're going to move on to Article 4. Article 4, shall the town authorize the select board to borrow money to pay current expenses and debts of the town in anticipation of the collection of taxes for that purpose? Are there any questions? I do see a hand up in the back. No, oh, no, I'm sorry. Okay. Never mind. Any other hands? Okay. I think that's a no. So we're going to move on to a vote. Oh. Goodness me, I'm so sorry. Can I have a motion? Thank you. Now, is there any discussion? Okay. Article 4. Shall the town authorize the select board to borrow money to pay current expenses and debts of the town in anticipation of the collection of taxes for that purpose? All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, say no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and the motion is carried. Article 5. Shall the town vote its current taxes into the hands of the town treasurer? Can I hear a motion? Second? Thank you. Is there any discussion on Article 5? Okay. We're going to move on to a vote. Article 5. Shall the town vote its current taxes into the hands of the town treasurer? All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, say no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The motion carries. I just want to take a moment to remind everyone that polls behind us close in 15 minutes. So if you have not voted, now is the time. Voted on the Australian ballot questions, that is. Okay, now we're going to move on to Article 6. Article 6, shall the town have its taxes of real and personal property billed July 15th, taxes due August 15th, delinquent after November 15th, with no discount? Can I hear a motion? Seconds? Is there any discussion, comments, questions on Article 6? Okay, I see people are hungry. All right. With that, we're going to move on to a vote. Article 6. Shall the town have its taxes of real and personal property billed July 15th, taxes due August 15th, delinquent after November 15th, with no discount? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and the motion is carried. Article 7. Shall the town vote its Green Mountain National Forest money go to the Warren PTO? Can I hear a motion? Second? Is there any discussion on Article 7? Yes.
I'm Dave Ellison. I think those of you that have been to these meetings know that ever since this was proposed many years ago, I have been in opposition of it. And the reason I've been in opposition of it is these are funds that come to the town. The town can make decisions about what goes to the PTO and so on, but simply to pass this along, to me, is just not the right thing to do. So I'm opposed to it in principle.
Thank you. I do see another hand up over here.
I appreciate that comment. I just wanted to rise in support of the measure. One of the issues with our school funding is that our schools are being asked to pay for a lot of stuff that isn't about education. We've started asking our schools and their budgets to pay for a lot of things outside of what I said earlier about the constitutional right to an education. A playground is one of these things where in a restrictive environment, I don't think the school's going to really get a new playground through the process. Okay, so I think this community would benefit from a playground, and we should just look at it that way. Do I have kids that would use it? Yeah, so consider that. But this is also a facility for our whole community, and you can use it if you want to make it that. It's up to you. It's not just for my 7-year-old. She's super cute, by the way. I'm going to keep mentioning her. But she doesn't need to be the only one using it, right? So we have an opportunity to make a community here, and this investment is an example of that. It shouldn't be seen just as something limited to children, something that we need to pick up the tab for. Thanks.
Thank you. I see a couple more hands up. Can we start over here?
The numbers on page 49, do they reflect the $200,000 ARPA contribution that was mentioned earlier?
I'm so sorry. Would you mind repeating the question for us? My apologies.
The ARPA money, the first thing they listed was $200,000 to the playground. And I just assume that's buried in this numbers that are presented on page 49. And
It looks to me, Hito, like it's in the amount raised by the PTO line item in the 206. But Jess, Jay, somebody from the PTO, please.
We're going to get you a microphone in one moment.
Oh, thanks, Devin.
Yeah, that's Jay Carpenter, the treasurer of the PTO. The budget item there, the 19650, does include the ARPA funds. We were awarded $200,000, $180,000 paid to us to pay for the initial purchase of the equipment, and then an additional $20,000, which the select board used to hire a project manager and grant writer to continue to fund the next phases of the project. And then I had, that answers your question. I also just wanted to thank everybody for being here and demonstrating this awesome display of democracy and being part of it. Thank you for historically and annually approving these funds for the PTO and trusting us with providing programming to the students here. On behalf of the PTO, thank you so much for that. And we truly appreciate your trust in us and your continued support of our mission and programs. These funds, as you can see, account for roughly, in a normal year when we don't have a big capital project like the playground, half of the annual budget for the PTO. It allows us to invest in the programming and community building events that make Warren and the Warren School a desirable place to be. If you did run the numbers and see the compare these funds to the budget, it would be an offset of the gross expenses of the town of 0.005 times, so less than half of 1%, potentially saving $5 for every $1,000 of your tax bill. Meanwhile, the benefit to our community for allocating these funds and allowing us to continue to provide the programming to our students and community is compounded by over 1,000 hours of volunteer service donated to provide these programs, as well as the participation in our additional fundraising events. So final numbers aren't quite in yet because we're halfway through the year, but this year we could potentially log up to 2,000 hours of volunteer service. That's benefit, free labor for community benefit through these PTO events. So thank you very much. And along those lines, we are continuing to pursue additional fundraising events. We've got our 3rd annual bike and boat sale and sports equipment sale coming up in April. We've added a can drive to that event as well, a whole bunch of other stuff. The 4th of July seems to be an underserved opportunity. If anybody has a golden ticket idea to suggest for us to capitalize on so many people being in town and their generosity, please do reach out to us. But again, thank you so much for supporting these local community programs, and we welcome anybody who wants to attend any upcoming PTO meetings.
Thank you, everyone. Any other questions or comments on Article 7? Okay, I think that's a no, so we'll move on to a vote. Article 7, shall the town vote its Green Mountain National Forest money go to the Warren PTO? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and the motion is carried. Article 8, shall the town empower the select board to accept any land if given to the town or to purchase any land within the town? Can I hear a motion? Any seconds? Thank you. Discussion on Article 8. Yes. Oh, were you raising your hand? Yeah.
So I've got a problem with
Oh, I'm so sorry. Would you mind just introducing yourself real quick?
Alan Hartshorn. Been here before a lot of you guys have. I got a problem with the board buying something without input from the rest of the town. I don't know how anybody else feels, but I just don't like you buying stuff whether you don't know about it. You understand?
You're going to have to repeat yourself. I'm sorry.
I don't like the town buying something without the rest of the town knowing it.
How do you not know about it? We did it in open session, and it was in our agendas. If you're talking about the piece of land on Roxbury Mountain, is that what you're talking about?
Any land.
Yeah. So that was the Conservation Commission. They talked about it in their meetings. They brought it to us. This is the Select Board giving the Conservation Commission permission to use the funds that we raised at meetings just like this one. They have $248,000 in their capital fund specifically for the purpose of assisting land purchases like the one Hito told us about 10 minutes ago. That was done at the Select Board over several meetings, and we asked them if they wanted to use the funds. They said as a board that they had taken a vote saying they did, and we okayed it.
How many people knew about this?
Anyone who was paying attention.
Well, there's something you guys ain't paid attention to, and I'll bring it up at the last thing.
A-okay.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Okay, I think that's a no, so we'll move on to a vote. On Article 8, shall the town empower the select board to accept any land if given to the town or to purchase any land within the town? All those in favor, say aye. All those opposed, say no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and the motion is carried. Article 9 reads, to set the date, time, and place of the 2026 town meeting. So this is an article that's going to have to be amended. So I'm going to ask for someone to propose a time and date in the form of an amendment. We're going to vote on that amendment, and then we're going to vote on the amended article. Would anyone like to? Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know why I keep doing this. Can I have a motion, please? Thank you. Can I have a second? Thank you. Any discussion? Questions, comments, or amendments?
I propose amending this motion to set the date, time, and place of the 2026 town meeting to the first Tuesday in March at 5 p.m. In the Warren School. In the parking lot.
One moment, I'm just going to record that as a motion, and then we will have a discussion and vote. Okay, so there is a proposed amendment. The proposal is to amend Article 9 to read, the 2026 Warren Town Meeting will take place at 5 p.m. on the first Tuesday of March 2026 at the Warren Elementary School. Oh, I thought I did, but maybe I did. I'm going to read that one more time. The 2026 Warren Town Meeting will take place at 5 p.m. on the first Tuesday of March 2026 at the Warren Elementary School. Can I hear a motion? Can I hear a second? Is there any discussion on this amendment? Yes. We're going to get you a microphone. One moment, please.
Robin Blyer. I would humbly suggest maybe a later start for those people that work outside the valley, perhaps 6 or 6:30. The potluck could happen before the meeting, my suggestion. Thank you.
I see another comment or question on the amendment.
I was just going to say, my first town meeting, I actually was part of the conversation when we changed it, which was pretty exciting, and I want you all to know that. But the reason that we changed it is because it was easier for parents. It's easier for me to be here and cover with my wife, so it just helps. I wanted to point out that it helps for some families to be here, although it may be a trade-off, but I really appreciate it moved.
Thank you. Any other comments on the proposed amendment? Okay, I think that's no. So we're first going to vote on the amendment to the motion. Shall we amend Article 9 to read, "The 2026 Warren Town Meeting will take place at 5 p.m. on the first Tuesday of March, 2026 at the Warren Elementary School"? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The amendment, the ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and the amendment is passed. So, is there any further, I think I need another motion to consider the amended article. Yes, I'm asking for a motion. Can I have a motion to? I think we have a motion, and did I hear a second over here as well, to consider the question as amended? Is there any discussion on Article 9 as amended? I think not. Okay. Now we're going to vote on Article 9. Article 9, after the amendment, reads, "The 2026 Warren Town Meeting will take place at 5 p.m. on the first Tuesday of March, 2026 at the Warren Elementary School." All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and the motion carries. Thank you for bearing with me on that. Article 10 is an announcement, so we don't need to vote on this, but I am going to read it to you. The following items will be voted on by Australian ballot between the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. on Tuesday, March 4th, 2025. The election, number 1 is the election of all town officers by law. Number 2, shall the town of Warren approve an amended Mad River Valley Recreation District Agreement to allow admission of municipalities as partial members, as is posted on the town MRVRD websites at warrenvt.org and mrvrd.org, and available for viewing at the Warren Town Office and polling location. So you've all been voting on that throughout the day. We can move on, I think. Article 11 is to transact any other business that may come before the meeting. This is also a non-binding article. I do know that Marie, are you out there, might have an announcement?
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Marie Schmuckel. I'm the director of the Warren Public Library. And thank you. And I have a really exciting thing to say, which is that 125 years ago at town meeting, the town voted to start a free public library. So this year we are celebrating that all year long. And we also, actually, 125 years ago, the town voted to appropriate $25 for that library annually. So thank you for increasing that since then. We have a few projects that we're working on. One is a timeline of the history of the library. A draft, kind of the first go at it, is posted out in the lobby of the school. Please take a look at it. I'd love your help. I know people have stories about taking their kids to story time and whatnot. I would love to hear those and gather those from people. And if you have photos, would love to have those. So anyway, so that was that. Also, I have the winners of the bake-off. We did a bake-off this year, and I don't want to cause a stampede, because I know you're all itching to get there. So our winners are on theme, which is library, books, whatever, Shannon and Rad Convica with Blueberries for Sale. And Shannon and Rad made a rustic blueberry galette with lemon cream and then blueberry muffins. In the youth category, the winner, the Carpenter Sugar Babies, so that's Jamie and Molly Carpenter, and they made brown butter salted maple blondies. And then for the adult category, cherry almond cheesecake bars with almond strudel made by Carolyn Adams. So thank you to all of them. And we also have birthday cake available as well. And the other really big exciting thing is we now have library cards. So I'm really excited about this. If you already have an account, I have a card printed ready for you to pick up at the library. If you don't have to use them. Some people are really worried because they don't want to carry something. You don't have to, but you have the opportunity to. And there's a key tag. The bonus about the key tag is if you lose your keys, somebody can return them to the library and we can reunite you. So that's exciting. And also we'd love more of you to come and open an account at the library this year. Celebrate 125 years of public library in our little town. So thank you all very much for your time.
Thank you so much, Marie. Congratulations to the Bake Off winners. Is there any further business? I think we've got a couple hands up. Can we, oh, I see three. I think I see someone in the back with a blue shirt I'd like to recognize first.
Hi, Jeff Scholkoff. I just wanted to recognize Peter Monty. Is Peter here tonight? Hopefully he's skiing in Aspen or something. So, Peter retired this year as the chair of the DRB. I served with him from back in the 90s sometime on the zoning board. We converted to DRB format in the year 2000. And so with this just honoring and recognizing, I guess I would think it might be appropriate for the select board to write a letter of appreciation or something. But, you know, he must have chaired 500 meetings through those 30 some years. I don't even know when he started because he was already on when I got on long ago. So 26 years, yeah. So anyway, here's to Peter.
Any further comments or questions on Article 11? I see a couple. I do have a couple hands that were raised over here first. Okay. That I'd like to recognize, if you don't mind. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, Dorothy Todd, Warren Village. I'm wondering whether the Covered Bridge Foundation is on anybody's radar anymore. There's all these grants when Barry Simpson was around that were going to somehow restore and protect and be resilient for the next storm for the Covered Bridge. And every year it seems to go further and further into oblivion, and I don't know whether there's anything about it anymore.
I got it. We haven't forgotten about it, and it isn't going into oblivion. The grant is still open, and I think you're referring to the abutment repairs. We've decided not to make any action currently, considering the continued degradation of the dam just downstream. So as that, we've been advised that that dam is likely going to go away, either slowly or in one big go with the next very high water event. And we're concerned that putting any money into repairing those abutments may be wasted in the event that that riverbed changes significantly over the next 10 years. So we've sort of decided not to decide and see what nature brings us so that when we make those repairs, they are long-lasting.
I would just like to say my riverbanks are very different this past year even a year ago. I mean, so right now the river's changing dramatically in the way it undercuts. So I can't predict how my own banks are going to be, and I'm just upstream from that. So.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? I did see a couple more hands up. I think Butch's hand is up, yes.
Yes, I'm Alan Hartshorn. I've approached this board to 2 town meetings probably 3 or 4 years ago, and they've done absolutely nothing about it. This is having to do with a culvert on Powder Hound Road. Now, this culvert has been there 150 years or better, and if you take care of it, it will be there for another 150 years. Now, there's a rock in place that used to be the header of the upper end of it, has fallen down, and it's been there for a long time. Now, I know it's been there for at least 25 years. And if one stick gets into it, it's going to plug it. Now, I had talked about this at the town meeting before, and the previous road foreman said, I know what he's talking about. I ain't going to do nothing with it. Well, the owner of the Powder Hound Lodge knows about this also. And if that plugs up, it's going to flood his parking lot. And it might go into his basement. Now, he knows that that rock is there, and he knows that I've talked about it here in town. Now, if anything happens to that, where are you people going to be? Now, also, I've talked to the road foreman now, last summer, and I said it's got to be taken care of. And he said, yeah, okay. And what I said, it's got to be done very, very careful. It just can't go in there and take care of it. Now, this is probably a 20-minute job. Now, if you want to flood a guy's basement for 20 hours of work or whatever, not 20 hours, but 20 minutes, I think maybe you better have some help with a psychologist. Now, maybe, I didn't see that in the budget. I didn't see 5 psychologists in the budget. Maybe we better get some for you people. Now, anyway, that better be taken care of because I'm serious. Now, we went around the culverts back when I worked for the town, and we noted every one of them, and that was on the list. Now, this has been quite a long time. This culvert's been like this. Now, it's about time you saw that the road foreman takes care of this. Now, this next storm coming up might tell the story.
Butch, thank you. We'll absolutely have that conversation with Andrew.
My name's Wendy Cox, and I don't normally do this anyway, but I think our town is so great for what we did on Saturday. So give everybody a... There you go. Okay, where was the other person?
Thank you. I do see a hand up over there as well.
Hi, I'm Randy Graves. Maybe I get the last word, but I just wanted to say we all should be very grateful for the level of volunteerism that spreads across this town and throughout the valley and throughout Vermont. It is absolutely phenomenal, and we don't exist without it. We thank our road crews, our fire people, our educators, but the amount of volunteer time that goes into running this town is just extraordinary, and maybe we end the day with a round of applause for us.
Thank you, Randy. I do think we have one more question or comment over here. I think we'd all like to start wrapping it up, but we can recognize. So one moment, please. We're not quite there yet, but I will take that as a chance to move on. So We don't need to vote on Article 11, it's non-binding. I'd just like to conclude with a couple of thanks. One, thank you. First of all, thank all of you for showing up and doing your civic duty. Thank you, Shannon, I don't know, for running the mic. It's not a fun job, but it's a very important one. Thank you to the custodial staff here for setting up this room. And if you would all be so kind after we do adjourn to help get all these chairs folded and I'm not sure where they go, but we'll figure it out. Folded and put away. And then we have dinner. So I think we're all eager to get there. Can I hear a motion to adjourn? Second? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. We are all set. Thank you so much, everyone.
Josie, nice job.